Nicky, great to have you as ever on the programme. What are your thoughts on what you saw late into the night yesterday? What are your thoughts on what happened in the House? Do you feel a sense of constitutional outrage, or are you pleased that no deal has, from a UK perspective at least, been taken off the table?
Well, I'm sorry in a way that it had to happen because I think it was very clear the Prime Minister doesn't want there to be a no-deal situation. She realises there's going to have to be an extension. But I think Parliament and MPs, and I did support the bill process, I think MPs just felt it was really important that they set down a process for extension just in case the talks that the Prime Minister is now having with the UK Labour Party about, as you say, a solution, an agreement that can command the majority support in the House of Commons don't work out. Of course, I think the next few days are going to be critical ahead of the next EU Council, and it is right. We still need the Prime Minister. She's asking for an extension. She needs to be clear what's going to happen in that extension period. But I do think that a no-deal Brexit has become now much less likely. That's good for businesses in many ways, but we do now need to get to a resolution of this phase of withdrawal.
Do you think, and you know many people in the Conservative Party, Nicky, obviously, do you think that the Conservatives could get behind any form of customs union? I don't mean the customs union with the EU, but a customs union, if we can play that semantic game. Do you think the Conservatives could get behind that, given only 34 out of 313 Tory MPs voted for a customs union in the indicative votes?
I do. I think inevitably there'll be some colleagues for whom it's an absolute red line. They will not cross it. But there were a lot of other Conservative MPs who didn't really participate so fully in the indicative votes process because they didn't want to be seen to be endorsing another option when they felt the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement was potentially still on the table. And I think that actually a lot of people, like the rest of the country, do just want to get on with this now. Realise that actually without compromise we are going to go round and round and round, and we're not going to be concentrating as a Parliament on the issues that people really care about. We're not going to give certainty to businesses and to the individuals and to EU citizens living here, UK citizens living in the EU, that they want. So I think there will be a lot of reluctance, but yes, I could see that happening. But of course we don't know exactly what the discussions are happening, what's on the table between the Prime Minister and Jeremy Corbyn.
Is sovereignty an issue that you think UK voters care about, and trade? Because Jeremy Corbyn has said he wants to remain in the customs union and subject to EU regulation. Does that sound like the Brexit that you think Britain's voted for?
Well, the honest truth is that there wasn't a particular type of Brexit on the table, and my experience talking to many people in my constituency over the last almost 3 years is that everybody had a slightly different version of what they were voting for. That's Remain voters as well as Leave voters. And so I think at the end of the day, what people want is for the UK not to be part of the EU political institutions, not subject as far as possible to judgments from the European Court of Justice, not paying vast amounts of money into the EU budget, and all these things have to be obviously on the, to be negotiated. I mean, the frustration with all of this is that the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement actually got us out of the customs union, got us out of the single market, stopped paying the contributions, got us out of the European Court of Justice, and the very MPs who've been campaigning for Brexit for decades have refused to endorse it. So as the Prime Minister said in her letter to MPs,
get you out of the customs union.
I tried with the Conservative MPs.
You still had to stay in the customs union. Indefinitely, indeed. I mean, unless you're going to... Do you have confidence that you'll find some sort of solution to a hard border in Ireland?
Yes, I do. And actually, I was engaged in talks, what was called the so-called alternative arrangements, which have been acknowledged by the EU. They're in the documents agreed between the Prime Minister and President Juncker on the 11th of March, that there will be alternative arrangements that will supersede the backstop. And actually, I think those can be negotiated with goodwill on both sides before the backstop would ever come into force. Now, the withdrawal agreement obviously talks about a customs territory, but again, it was intended to be temporary. I mean, I think the other thing is that Brexit's going to be a process. We're going to have this debate about divergence from EU rules, convergence, for many years to come. And obviously, the financial services sector is going to be a lot more prepared, I think, for that debate than perhaps other sectors. But that is what we want to get on to in terms of talking about the future relationship.
OK, can I ask you also, Nicky, what value there is or what guarantee the Labour Party has in going into talks with Theresa May that her word is in any way binding on future leaders of the Conservative Party? Because she's obviously said she'll step down. So Jeremy Corbyn is having a conversation with somebody who's already said that she's leaving the job.
Yes, and I suspect that's probably why actually some of the changes will be in the so-called political declaration, which is more like a heads of terms, you like. It's a 26-page document about where the UK and EU expect the future relationship to go. And I think putting some of that perhaps on a more binding footing might be something that the Labour Party might ask for in order to have that reassurance. I mean, that's been one of the concerns, actually, is that many in the Labour Party don't have an actual issue with the content of the withdrawal agreement. It's the fact that they are uncertain about what the next phase is going to bring. And so I guess if I were the Labour Party, that's something I would be wanting that reassurance about, as far as possible, because at the end of the day, I think, again, what the last 3 years have shown us is you just don't know how these negotiations are going to turn out.
Could Theresa May's deal still come back, Nicky, if we don't see Corbyn and May reach an agreement? She says she'll put various options in front of the House to vote on next week. Could one of those still be her deal?
It potentially could be. I think the Speaker of the House of Commons has made it very clear that there has to be a significant change from previously. Now, she achieved that, the Prime Minister, last Friday by separating out the withdrawal agreement from the political declaration. The other way that it's being talked about potentially is to bring to the House the implementing legislation for the withdrawal agreement, and potentially to put that and see if that can start to be moved through the House of Commons. Now, that's another way of doing it. But yes, I think that I would be surprised if Downing Street didn't try at least once more to get their withdrawal agreement through the House. But obviously, it's all very fluid at the moment.